Alright, let's try and do this in all one take. Ranking every single FNAF character from best to worst. Now this is going to be a long video, so let's just start. Okay, so number 1 is Fredbear. Of course it's Fredbear. Fredbear, he's the original animatronic. He's got a cool design. He's Cassidy. He's like this giant reveal and custom night. So Fredbear, of course, and that is their FNAF VR design. Next up is going to make a lot of people click off the video. It is Scrap Trap. I know a lot of people say how terrible the design is, but I unironically like the design when it's burning and the eyes are all black. I think it looks pretty good, and I think it's very underrated. And so it's the final form of Spring Bonnie, you know, William. So it's gonna go here. Next up is Withered Bonnie. Withered Bonnie, great design, great animatronic, just great. All right, number 4 is the Puppet. The Puppet it's got a lot in the lore. It's got a great design, so Puppet is number 4. Number 5 is, yes, we are including characters besides animatronics. It's Michael Afton. I just think Michael Afton, you know, he's the protagonist of the series. He's the night guard. He's the good guy, and I genuinely think that he deserves this 5th place spot. Next up is another controversial one. I'm going to put Vanny. I know that they were kind of disappointing in Security Breach, how little they showed up, but they still have a lot of potential as the new killer of the series, so I'm going to put them here. Next up is the other original animatronic. It's Spring Bonnie. Again, the FNAF VR design, because it's the one design we really have. Great design, great animatronic, great for the lore, and it's of course William's suit, so that is going to be going here. So yeah. Next is the man behind him slaughter himself, William Afton. Of course, he's a killer. It's basically all his fault, is the quote. So yeah. Next up is the Blob, the Mimic, if you will. I choose to believe that Mimic theory. And yeah, the Blob, the Mimic, great character, great if you include the fact that it's the Mimic. Next up is Crying Child, Evan, whatever you want to call him. I think Evan could be the correct name. Who knows? He's called Garrett in the new movie, so who knows? But the Crying Child is next. Again, he's a protagonist. He's great. So yeah, we're putting him here. Next up is the one who fixed the lore after Custom Night. It's the Mimic. I actually had a theory that it was just an AI replication of Afton ever since FNAF VR. So I'm glad to see that happen. I'm glad for the lore to be fixed with the Mimic. Next up is an obscure character. Another one that a lot of people are disagree with me on. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on, you know, the murderous rabbits. I think that I'm going to put Dark Springtrap here. Okay. So, Dark Springtrap, literally, most people are going to be like, they're not even a character. Why would they deserve to be up here? But, to me, they're Springtrap. But, like, a better design. And all they did was change the color of it. And I genuinely think, based on the merchandise, it's a much better design for Springtrap. I don't really like Springtrap's original design, so I'm going to put this here. I know a lot of people are going to click off from that, but come on. Dark Springtrap is going here. Next up is the daycare attendant, Sun. So yeah, great character, love Sun, one companion, love it. Next up is Watermelon Chica, and the only reason that they're here is because they're Watermelon Chica. It's Phantom Chica. Again, just funny nickname. Next up is the security bot of Mrs. Afton. I don't know, I just feel like, you know, it's the one chance we have to see Mrs. Afton, and I just love all the Afton family, so great to be here. Next up is Logbook Chica, or Scrap Chica, or Furnace Chica, whatever you want to call it. I just think, you know, it's an obscure character, and they were the first. They're one of the scraps that wasn't included in the game, and yeah, I just think, you know, if we get a scrap for all the Afton family, we get a scrap for the one who was the first animatronic made by Henry. So yeah, Scrap Chica. Next up is Purple Freddy. I think it's just a better Shadow Freddy. And I like how it's obscure. I like how it's hidden in the games a lot. And it is, you know, it's the Shadow Freddy plush. Because I'm a FNAF plush collector. And it's, you know, the most expensive FNAF plush. So, of course, I'm going to put it here. And then next up, as the last one of the best, Triple S tiers, we have Funtime Chica, as I believed for years that they were the first animatronic. Because I always believed... I made the theory that Chica was the first animatronic made, and I believed it was Funtime Chica, and so Funtime Chica is always gonna have that special moment to me in the lore. All right, we've completed them, so let's move on to the best. All right, So here in the second tier, the best of the best, not the best of the best of the best, but the best of the best is Burning Springtrap. I'm gonna put Burning Springtrap here. Again, I love Springtraps, just because they're lore, but ironically, you know, Springtrap himself isn't here yet. But yeah, Burning Springtrap. It's a cool reference to all the fires that have happened to him, and I don't know, I like him. Next up is Golden Freddy. Golden Freddy would be #1, best of the best, literally ranked to #1 here. But Fredbear is just better, in my opinion, more unique. And so Golden Freddy gets demoted down here because compared to Fredbear, all he is just the older chronological version, the version we've had longer. So Golden Freddy's gonna go here. Next up is Nightmare. Nightmare is very important to the lore, great character design, and I made a whole video about how they should have been included in FNAF 6. Represent death, so of course they're gonna go here. Next up is Lefty. They're the puppet, and you know the puppet is a great character, and they're just kind of the puppet with more added on lore. Next up is just a little fan favorite, Electrobab. I never really had a strong connection to Electrobab, but I was doing a bracket fight a while ago on the channel, and for some reason Electrobab just kept winning every single bracket for no real reason. And ever since that, I've always said that they're one of my favorites, even though there's not really a reason. They're just cool like that, I guess. And the next up's Liberty Chica. You know, I love America. I am very, love 4th of July. And they are the Statue of Liberty, so I think that's cool. If I ever got an AR skin, I would get them. I think I still have one of their lures stored. I never used it, because I just logged on and got it and never used it, because I'm not very good. I never really play. So, yeah, Liberty Chica's next. Next up is FNAF 1 Chica. Now, FNAF 1 Chica gets to be here just because, in my opinion, they're the best of the FNAF 1 designs. So they get to be here. I guess, looking at these top tiers, I kind of put a lot of Chicas here, so I guess Chica just generally has, the best designs. You can really tell Chica's personality through them. And, so I'm gonna put Chica here, just FNAF 1 Chica with Cupcake, of course, Mr. Cupcake, so yeah, FNAF 1 Chica. Next up is Phantom Puppet. It's basically the puppet, but with a different design, so that's good. Next up is Phantom Balloon Boy.
And his name is
Next up is Scrap Baby. Scrap Baby is basically just Circus Baby with added on lore and a slightly better design, so we're gonna put Scrap Baby here. Probably the best form of Elizabeth. Speaking of Elizabeth, we are putting Elizabeth here next. Again, just members of the Afton family are great, so Elizabeth is next. And this is also kind of where most of the, humans are gonna go. So next up is Henry. Again, just great character, one of the only good guys throughout the series, so Henry. And the next up, Phone Guy, Scott Cawthon. Phone Guy himself, he's just iconic, his iconic hello, hello. Alright, that's it for best. We're gonna go down to just 1S, amazing, so here we go. So, next up is 8-Bit Circus Baby. The only reason I put 8-Bit Circus Baby here is because it's basically Circus Baby, but a little more interesting. So yeah, they're just right above our next contestant, which is Circus Baby. So yeah, just Circus Baby. 8-Bit Circus Baby is just the better version. Circus Baby is our first form of Elizabeth. The first person talks to us throughout the series, besides Phone Guy and Afton at the beginning of the one thing. It's the first mention of the Afton family. It's the kind of the first introduction into the real deep lore of the series, and it's just a great character, great representation of Elizabeth. Next up is Glitch Trap. Again, I didn't like Glitch Trap for a while. I know a lot of people do, but I never liked him until the whole mimic theory, and he's a good representation of the mimic, good mimicking of William, so he's gonna go here. Next up is Nightmarion. Good representation for Custard Knight, even though more likely it could have been Fredbear. Nightmarion, he's kind of creepy. He's one of the more creepier characters. I mean, not really any characters come out to me as scary or creepy, except for I feel like a very stylized Nightmarion could potentially be scary. So I'm putting Nightmarion here. Cool character, another representation of death. It's basically Nightmare, but a little slightly worse. So I'm putting Nightmarion here. Next up is Ennard. Ennard was one of the biggest lore characters back in this location, of course. So Ennard's great. And you can even say that they're the Stitch Wraith in the canon games. Not the Hasbro fights, but in the canon games. maybe when they're roaming around before they become Molten Freddy, they can be the Stitch Wraith. So yeah, entered next. Next up is Freddy Frostbear, kind of the mascot of FNAF AR. Great character, great skin, so we're going here. Next up is the best of the Glam Rocks in my opinion, Montgomery Gator. This design here that I put for these Glam Rocks, I don't know why. They're like bad designed. They're like fan-made designs that probably came out before the game. But they were the ones that were available for this, list that were just already there. So I'm putting it here. Bear with those weird designs for the Glam Rocks, and I think Gregory too. But yeah, Monty's the best Glam Rock, so we're putting Monty here. Next up was my original second favorite character. So it used to be that Withered Bonnie was my favorite, and Toy Bonnie was my second favorite. Two Bonnies from FNAF 2. So yeah, Toy Bonnie, great Bonnie, put it here. Next up, Nightmare Fredbear, great lore, great character, basically Nightmare but worse. Next is Firework Freddy. Firework Freddy, he, again, 4th of July. Cool design, cool character, it's kind of funny. 4th of July, so yeah. Next up is just one of the dead children ghosts. Them as a whole, I guess. But the lore of them is nice, so I'm putting them here, of course. Next up is Gregory, the first really talking and noticed in-game protagonist that we've had. And you really get to play as Gregory. And it's nice. So I'm putting Gregory here. All the lore of him is kind of weird, but I still think that just because he's our protagonist, he deserves to be here. Next up is, I have no idea why they're so high up, but I felt like it. It's I believe that's the Roxy Raceway staff bot. And the reason I did that is because I'm pretty sure that's the one that we found decapitated in the game. I distinctly remember that moment playing the game, and I just thought that was a funny moment. So I think they deserve to be here as the best of the staff bots, which I know a lot of people are going to be mad, and they're going to think it's someone else, which we'll get to in a moment. Next up is Endo01. The only reason I'm putting Endo01 here is because I always hated that people saying Endo01 is a character. I hated it. Endo01 shouldn't count as a character. Endo01, I used to think shouldn't count as a character. But then, I made an Endo01 plush, just because of how many people said it was a character. And, because of my plush, I'm now just, feeling that it is a character. And it's really grown on me, and to the point where it's maybe gone a little too far, and being up here in S tier. Next up is Security Puppet, another great lore, great character. Really confusing how, Charlotte possessed Security Puppet, and then it became the puppet. Maybe they remodeled it into the puppet, but how were you able to buy it in FNAF 6 then? It's kind of weird, but yeah, Security Puppet goes here. Next up, Blackheart Bonnie. I love the holiday FNAF AR skins. We had the Christmas one and 4th of July ones earlier, and here's the main Valentine's Day one, so love Blackheart Bonnie. Next is Molten Freddy. Basically, just a slightly better version of Funtime Freddy. It was really hard to pick which was better, but I think just Molten Freddy, being the final incarnation of Mrs. Afton for the FNAF 6 fire, and representing, the dead children during that moment, was enough to, make it a little bit higher. The main thing was that it's their voice is iconic, so I love them. I'll talk about that moving on with Funtime Freddy as next. Like I said, Funtime Freddy could be better than Molten Freddy. It really switches around. Funtime Freddy is like Molten Freddy, but without all the, withering, and that's actually better for the fun times, I think, a lot of the time. And so, Funtime Freddy or Molten Freddy, they're going here. I guess I'm just going to put Molten Freddy slightly more because it's the representation of Mrs. Afton as well during the FNAF 6 fire. Next up is a staff bot that you guys were probably all saying when I was talking about the other one. It's MapBot. Will you please take this map? No further, things need to be said. Next up is this Aeronaut Balloon Boy. Sorry, I'm going to blank on a lot of the AR skin names. I should probably go look those up before I get more of these. One sec. Alright, so this is actually Jetpack Balloon Boy. I'm sorry. I won't try and mistake any of the names left. But, yeah, so this is Jetpack Balloon Boy. I just saw it. I thought it had a cool design. So, yeah, Jetpack Balloon Boy goes here just because they're cool design. Alright, so that is S tier done. We're going to be moving on to A, the pretty good tier. So, yeah. Okay, so next up is, I believe, Scorching Chica. Again, just a representation of the first animatronic. It's the closest thing I feel like we'll ever get to getting Scrap Chica in the games, so I was just glad to see that. Next up, Glamrock Freddy. They're our one ally throughout Security Breach. It's great to have them. Great. Love Glamrock Freddy in the games. Great personality. The main problem is that they're just not as good as some of the other characters, so we're putting them here. Next up, Hand Unit. You know, they're funny. They're, like, you know, interesting. They come back a lot, so Hand Unit. Next up is L-Chip, just because he's a representation of Chipper. If Chipper was on here, he'd be higher. So yeah, L-Chip is here. Next up, Old Man Consequences. He's mysterious. No one knows what he is. And actually, because of that, I put him lower. If we knew what he was, I bet he would be really high up, like higher up in the tier. So, Old Man Consequences is here. Next up is Shadow Bunny, or RXQFXC, whatever. I think that's what it is. There may be a little bit more. I'm just putting that here, Shadow Bunny, because, you know, again, just the shadows are really interesting, mysterious, and I think they're cool. Next up is Paper Pals. The Paper Pals are interesting. I kind of think that they're maybe possessed by agony, so I think it's interesting. Paper Pals are going to go here. They're just kind of silly. Next up is FNAF 1 Foxy. I think FNAF 1 Foxy is pretty cool. Pretty good FNAF design. I think they're a little overrated, but it's fine. FNAF 1 Foxy is still cool. The FNAF 1 original designs are all good. Like, next up with FNAF 1 Freddy. Again, Freddy Fazbear. He's the mascot, really, of the series. Next up's Phantom Freddy. Now, that may sound weird, but I do have this thing where there's like a FNAF song made about FNAF 3 that's like sung in a Russian accent. And I always think of it as Funtime Freddy's song for some reason, because I know a lot of people say that it is. And so to me, that is like Funtime Freddy is Russian, and that's kind of weird, and I think that makes him unique, so we're just going to put him here. Next up, Shadow Freddy. He's just Purple Freddy, but worse. Moving on, with the Golden Freddy, he's just FNAF 1 Golden Freddy, but worse. I get mad a lot that he's that people show him instead of FNAF 1 Golden Freddy, because it should be FNAF 1 Golden Freddy. He's a worse design. He's bad. And so usually he's actually put as my least favorite character, but when I really sat down to evaluate, he's not that bad. He's actually a good character. All Golden Freddys are good, so he gets to go here. Next up is Ballora, the representation of Mrs. Afton. Great character, because it's the representation of Mrs. Afton. I love the Afton family, so yeah. Next up is Mr. Hippo. Mr. Hippo, you know, their stories and everything, it really makes them stand out as a good character. Next up is Withered Chica. Great design, cool character. Next is Mr. Hugs. I like how Toy Freddy gets to play Finance at Mr. Hugs during custom night. So, cool trash in the gang. I love all the trash in the gangs. Next is Nightmare Foxy. Nightmare Foxy had that thing with where they were gonna have a tongue. I think all the nightmares are pretty good, so they're all gonna go here. Next up with Nightmare Bonnie. Nightmare Bonnie, great nightmare, probably one of the best nightmares. Well, I mean, it is the second best nightmare here. So, you know, besides Nightmare Fredbear Nightmare, because I don't know, whenever I think of FNAF 4 songs, I kind of think of them represented by Nightmare Bonnie. Next up's Nightmare Freddy. Not as good a design as the other ones. Got the Freddles though, and it's interesting, and all the nightmares are interesting, so yeah. Next up's FNAF 1 Bonnie. Again, just one of the OGs. Great character, FNAF 1 Bonnie. And then Chocolate Bonnie is just a slightly worse version of it, but it's still good. It's, you know, the Easter variation, so I love the holiday variations, so it's gonna go here. FNAF 1 Bonnie's just got that OG-ness to push it ahead. Next up, Nightmare Chica. I guess it's the worst of the nightmares, like the main 4 nightmares, and I guess, I don't know, maybe its design's a little weird, its eyes, but it always stuck out to me. Maybe Nightmare Freddy is worse, I don't know, it's between those two, who knows. But I'm just going to put them here for the list. Next up, Shamrock Freddy. They're important to my channel. You know, I have a lot of St. Patrick's Day plush video specials. They've got their own storyline that goes through the series. So yeah, Shamrock Freddy's next. Love the holidays. Next up is, I think that's, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm forgetting the name. That's Number 1 Crate. What am I saying? Number 1 Crate. Probably the best Trash in the Gang design. My favorite Trash in the Gang on its own. Mr. Hugs was only there because I to Mr. Hugs. So, he's definitely my favorite Trash in the Gang. Best Trash in the Game. Next up, oh my gosh. Next up, Easter Bonnie. Easter Bonnie, you know, holiday. Just basically Chocolate Bonnie, but worse. So we're going to put Easter Bonnie here. Next up's Helpy. Helpy would be higher because I really like the idea of a help character. I like how they're using Helpy in FNAF Plus. And, you know, FNAF Security Breach. I don't know why I couldn't say it. And so Helpy in FNAF 6, though, is really overrated to me, so that kind of bumps him down. Next up is Funtime Foxy. All the Fun Times are good. I love the Fun Times. So Funtime Foxy is next. Next up is Phantom Foxy. Great Phantom. Love the Phantoms. Next is Balloon Boy. I always thought Balloon Boy got a little too much hate. I actually thought Balloon Boy was kind of interesting. So we're going to put Balloon Boy here. I know a lot of people say he's annoying, but he's going to go here. And then pretty tied up with Balloon Boy is Mangle. Mangle's just a little worse, so I'm going to put Mangle here. Great character and everything, just, you know, interesting lore. So here's Mangle. Next up is FNAF VR Toy Freddy. It's kind of just like Toy Freddy, but better. I think FNAF VR Toy Freddy is the best, one of the best AR skins that isn't a holiday, or no, it is the best FNAF AR skin that isn't a holiday skin. I love it. Definitely the best of, you know, its wave of the arcade mayhem. So yeah, FNAF VR Toy Freddy is next. Next up, I couldn't tell which one this was, but I didn't see Comedy Bot here, so I'm just going to put this as Comedy Bot. I think Comedy Bot, it's kind of funny in the game, so yeah. Next up is FNAF VR Plush Trap. It's basically Plush Trap, but like 1,000,000 times better. It made Plush Trap so much better, actually gave it a good design. So yeah, here is FNAF VR Plush Trap. Next up is Toy Chica. It's basically like one of the worst Chicas. It's just not that interesting. The beak coming off kind of makes it interesting with the lore, more interesting lore, but it's not that good of a character, so we're just gonna put it here. But it's still, you know, on the same level as these other ones. Next up's Orville Elephant. The only interesting thing with Orville Elephant, besides being one of the great mediocre melodies, is that they're friends with Mr. Hippo, and that's why the only reason why they're this high. Next up is the final one of the pretty good A tier. That is, you know, Melted Chocolate Bonnie. It's just Chocolate Bonnie, but worse. I think they tried to do, like, upgraded versions of the skins, and it didn't really turn out that well. Alright. Next up's good. Alrighty. Alright. So, starting off with Burn Trap, the Mimic, you know, great. Here's the Mimic. Here's Burn Trap. So, Burn Trap, it was a cool reveal, or, well, actually it was a terrible reveal when it first happened, and that's why they're kind of lower. And their design isn't crazily good. It's not really that good. But, you know, it being the Mimic really makes it better. And I actually really like the lore behind that, so it's going to go in good. Next up is just the Cleaning Bot. I think they're cool in the game. They're not really ally, but they're not really evil either. They're not trying to hunt us down. And again, anything we can get in that game is great. So I love them. Love the Cleaning Box. Next is Shadow Mangle. Just thought, you know, shadows are mysterious. Why does Shadow Mangle exist? Very obscure. We don't even really have clear images of Shadow Mangle, so we're going to put Shadow Mangle here, just because it's mysterious. Next up's Endo 02. Endo 02 is just basically Endo 1, but worse. It can move around. It's an Easter egg. That's cool. Next up is... Oh, yeah! Next up is Toy Freddy. Now, Toy Freddy... This was hard. Toy Freddy is the best Finest Freddy's plush of all time. You know, my channel mascot's a variation of Toy Freddy, like my FNAF plush, tuber guy, and, you know, I love Toy Freddy. My custom character is Toy Freddy, but, I don't know, its design's kind of weird, and it's cool that it's a gamer too, but it's just, I don't know, something was telling me to put it lower, and if I really thought about it, it should go higher, but I just felt like it wasn't that good of a character, really. Even though, like, the more you think about it, it should be higher, and it, like, tempts me to make it higher, but my gut feeling is to put Toy Freddy here, so yeah. Next up is, I believe that's, Mr. Can Do. Again, Trash in the Gangs are good. It's one of the good Trash in the Gangs, so it's gonna go here. Next up's Phantom Mangle, kind of one of the obscure Phantoms, and, you know, all the Phantoms are cool to me, so Phantom Mangle here. Next up, Rockstar Foxy with the Parrot. Again, just cool, cool Rockstar. Next up is Jacko Chica, followed by Jacko Bonnie. The Jackos are interesting, I guess. Halloween, you know, I love the holiday animatronics. Next up is Bonnet. Basically Bon Bon, but better. I like Bonnet. I like how they're special. And they're not annoying like Bon Bon is. Next up, finally, forever, all you guys waiting, it's Springtrap. Now, Springtrap was originally in my F tier. But the more I think about it, Springtrap is William himself, and I know that I like to hate on Springtrap a lot because their design, but they really deserve to be here. So I'm gonna put him here. Next up, I don't know what this is. I'm not a big FNAF AR guy, so I'm really sorry. I get really mad when people forget the names of FNAF AR skins, but I don't know the FNAF AR skins, so I feel really bad. But I'm probably gonna be doing that a lot. I just thought the design looked cool. They look like a golden Freddy, and you know, I love golden Freddys, and it's a really cool design of it. I'm probably gonna look into this character more after this, and maybe they would be bumped up more. Next up's Happy Frog. You know, I love the mediocre melodies. It's a good mediocre melody, so yep. Next up's Dee Dee. Dee Dee's interesting, like how they're from FNAF World, like how they included them in Custom Night, so yeah. And then next up, for the final good character, is Nightmare Mangle. Just because, you know, Nightmare Mangle, they just have a cool design, I guess. So yeah, let's move on to average. So, Yendo is starting off. I feel like Yendo is the embodiment of average. Literally just an average character. It's not bad. It's kind of good. So yeah, this is average. Next up, Ned Bear. It's a good character, but again, it's just kind of average. Maybe it would be higher, but it's kind of the odd one out of the mediocre melodies. It's not included a lot. So yeah, Ned Bear. Next up is Lolbit. You know, Sly Pie. And then that Funko Pop about it. Just kind of make it cool. Next up is Pan Stan. I hate Pan Stan's design, but Pan Stan included as the mimic type character in the Random Encounters FNAF the Musical universe is just kind of funny to me. So he gets to be here in average. It's not bad. Next up is Grandma Foxy. It's Grandma Foxy. Next up is a Mini Rena. Literally just an average character. Next up is Workerbot. Workerbot is, you know, it's average. It's kind of good. Some of these characters I'd say are good, and some of these are average, but I still feel like they're all kind of the same level. Kind of in this area and below, they begin to get a little unsorted. Like, which is better, which is worse. So I'll just kind of tell you. Workerbot's really good. I love Workerbot, but they're just an art. Next up's William, Michael, and Crying Child's bots. You know, I think their lore is cool. I like how we finally get representations of the Afton family as actual humans. So love that. Next up is this, like, I think he's called, like, Party Freddy or something. He's a, like, hidden character in the game, so that's cool. Next up is Grim Foxy, the Jacko Foxy everyone's always been wanting. Next up is Rockstar Chica. Probably not that good of a Chica, I would say. Next up is, I think it's Black Eyes, Frostbear. Frostbear, but, like, exponentially worse. Next up, I don't know the names of these, so I'm just gonna name them as I choose. I'm gonna call this Fiesta Bot. Fiesta Bot looks funny. Next up, I think that's the Alien Bot for Feather Blast. You know, he also looks cool. Next up is Frost Plush Trap. Again, I love FNAF AR Plush Trap. This is just FNAF AR Plush Trap, but worse. Next up is the Freddles. You know, the Freddles aren't that interesting. They're really just an average character. Next up is Pig Patch. Pig Patch isn't that good. He's probably the worst of the mediocre melodies, but, you know, he is a pig, and I do love pigs in Minecraft, I guess, so Pig Patch, let's go here. Security Bot would be terrible. I hate him. He is the most annoying character in Security Breach. He actually is the worst character in Security Breach. I yell. Well, I don't actually yell, but I get really mad with Security Bot. They're, like, teleporting the animatronics to you. I die to Security Bot more than anything else in that game. I hate Security Bot, but again, he's a bot, and he's a cooler, more unique bot, so I guess he gets to go here as his terrible character. Next up's Moon. I know that it's so much far lower than Sun, but Moon, it's not as good as Sun. It's basically Sun, but, like, a lot worse, and not a good guy, so yeah. Next up's Rockstar Foxy, next up's Rockstar Freddy, and the only reason they're here is...
Please deposit 5 coins.
Next up's Candy Cadet. I don't really like Candy Cadet that much. Kind of overrated. Next up is High Score Tortuga. I like the Arcade Mayhems, so they're gonna go here. Sister Mary Toy Bonnie as well avoids the wrath of the next tier, or they're actually kind of bad. Next up is this weird Toy Bonnie. I was just scrolling through, and they actually look like they have a cool design. Next up is, finally, the Elizabeth representation of Staff Bot as the last not terrible character, but I actually would still say that they're pretty bad. Well, sorry, no. I don't like the design of it, but because they're a representation of Elizabeth, I just think that they get to be an average. That makes them a lot better. And you'll see the other animatronic with the exact same design later. So yeah. It's time for forgettable. And I mean, these characters really are forgettable. I'm gonna forget a lot of their names. So yeah. Here we go. Starting off with Glamrock Chica. Glamrock Chica literally isn't forgettable, but it just isn't that good of a character. It's definitely the... No, it's not the worst Glamrock. But it's not that interesting, you know. They eat pizza, that's the most interesting part of it. Next up's Radioactive Foxy. Radioactive Foxy is just kind of a meh character. Again, forgettable. Next up is the good Phaser Blast person. Staff Butt. I haven't really got to Phaser Blast yet, but their design does not look that cool. Next up, Withered Foxy, the worst Withered. I don't like them. Just kidding, they're not the worst Withered. But, they're really forgettable design. They don't really change enough from normal Foxy to be any better. So, they're going here. Next up is, Clockwork Ballora. Clockwork Ballora is, you know, it's a more interesting FNAF AR skin, but it's not that good of an AR skin. I don't really like it. Next up is Aeronaut Toy Freddy. The only reason they're cool is because they're on Swifty Plus Productions. Next up is Dreadbear. Really, I just think Dreadbear is super overrated. I don't like Dreadbear at all. Next up is JJ. It's basically Balloon Boy, but with a bad color palette. Next up is Rockstar Bonnie. I don't like their design. Next up, Flamethrower Endo. The only reason they're cool is because they're an Endo variant. Anything outside of that, they don't have that cool of a design. Like, nah. Next up is, I think that's Plush Babies wearing masks. I just thought the masks were cool. Next up is, I think that's Furnace Circus Baby. Cooler design than most of the FNAF AR skins, but it's still kind of bad. I don't like it. Next up is Dark Springtrap. I don't like the Springtrap skins, and so bad. Next up is Mini Music Man. Mini Music Man is actually kind of cool, but again, he's literally like forgettable. Who cares about Mini Music Man? I mean, I kind of care about Mini Music Man, but he's about as good as these other characters here. We've already got DJ Music Man. Next up is, I think that's like, I don't know, Blackheart Circus Baby or something? I don't know what they're called. It's forgettable. So they're gonna go here as, just, you know, forgettable. Next up's a forgettable Staff Bot. Next up's a terrible design Staff Bot. Next up's Pat. Super overrated. Not actually that cool of a character. Not that cool of a design. So yeah, sorry. And then we hit the weird obscure FNAF VR characters that I don't even know the name of. So here's a Freddy, here's a Bonnie. The Bonnie had a cooler design. Nightmare Endo, I just hate Nightmare Endo a lot. I really hate Nightmare Endo. I like their lore a lot though. I like how they confirm my theories, but I just don't like Nightmare Endo's design. Then here's a Chica, Ringmaster Foxy, here's a Foxy, Circus Mangle, Ringmaster Mangle, whatever, like Clown Mangle. Here's another Foxy. Here's like Red Hood Chica. Here's Woodland Toy Freddy. Here's like a Rocky Toy Bonnie. Here's XOR Shadow DD. Not that cool of a character, not that unique because we already have normal DD who's better. Next we have like a Rocky Balloon Boy. I hate the Balloon Boy FNAF AR skin designs. Next up's like Little Joe. Little Joe is not that cool in Sister Location. Their return in FNAF 6 does make them actually forgettable and not a bad character though. Next up's like, I don't know, Day of the Dead Toy Chica. Forgettable. Next up, Clown Springtrap. Actually a bad character design. I don't like Clown Springtrap at all. Next up, Arctic Ballora. Again, just terrible design. Next up, Bucket Bob. Definitely the worst of the Trash in the Gangs. Alright. We've reached forgettable. Done. Now it's time for terrible. So yeah. Starting off with Roxy. Don't like Roxy at all. But I guess they're the best of these terrible animatronics. Next up's Nightmare Security Bot or Staff Bot. Bad design, bad lore. It doesn't really fit. It's kind of stupid. Next up's Bon. Annoying design. Terrible design. I just don't like Bon. Next up's Original Music Man. Same type of thing. Bad design. That's about it. Alright, we're done. It's terrible. Yeah, that was quicker. But get ready for this. It's gonna be the longest one ever. It's time for F worst. We have Withered Freddy, because it's not that good of a design, honestly. And that is it. Alright. It's time for Triple F, worst of the worst. Here we go. Any of characters that you like that haven't showed up yet, get ready. So yeah, here we are with Nightmare Balloon Boy, terrible design, don't like them, they're annoying. Next up is the actual Circus Baby, you know, staff bot that I was mentioning earlier, terrible design, I don't like it, and it's not embodied by Elizabeth, so who cares. Next up is the plush babies, super overrated, don't like them, they show up a lot, I'm annoyed every time they show up in any animations or anything. Next up is this weird, like, you know, Stitch Location Magician, I don't like them, I hate their designs. Next up is this weird staff bot, don't know who they are, I hate them. Next up is this weird Piranha Scrap, or Plush Trap. Again, just kind of really bad. Next up is Dark Water Endo, terrible design. Next up is the Curse, bad design. Next up is this weird, like, Egyptian Mangle, bad. Next up is Biddy Bab, bad design, annoying. Next up is Plush Trap, originally going to be the worst one here. Hate their design, but there was one worse character. It's time for the worst character of all time. It's Arctic Balloon Boy, Frost Balloon Boy. Their only redeeming qualities that I got a plush, their design is the ugliest thing I've ever seen, and I hate it so much. Yeah, there you have it. That is every single FNAF character ranked in one take, I mind you. So that was crazy. My voice is like, yeah. Here's the full tier list if you want to see it. Full thing. It's nice. Yeah, here's the whole thing with all the characters listed. And yeah, and you know what? Here's my dad's. Why not? We'll just include my dad's as well. And I'll see you guys all next time. That was crazy. Yeah, goodbye.